Welcome back. You're watching WION World is One. I'm Shivan Channa. This is Speed News. Let's begin. American contractors guarding aid distribution sites in Gaza are using live ammunition and stun grenades as hungry Palestinians scramble for food. This is according to accounts and videos obtained by the Associated Press. Videos provided by one of the contractors and taken at the sites shows hundreds of Palestinians crowded between metal gates, jostling for aid amid the sound of bullets, stun grenades and the sting of pepper spray. Two US contractors speaking to the AP on conditions of anonymity said that they were disturbed by what they called dangerous and irresponsible practices. They said the security staff hired were often unqualified, unvetted, heavily armed and seemed to have an open license to do whatever they wished. US President Donald Trump has reiterated his call for the chair of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, to resign, saying the central bank leader should do so immediately. Powell was nominated by Trump to lead the Fed during his first administration. Joe Biden, who succeeded Trump as president, nominated Jerome Powell for a second term. His tenure as Fed chair is set to end in May of next year. Trump's call for Powell's resignation comes amid disagreements over interest rates, with Trump criticizing the Fed for not lowering rates. He accused Powell of costing the country a fortune in debt servicing costs. The Pentagon has claimed that strikes on Iran's nuclear sites have set the country's nuclear program back by up to 2 years. American B-2 bombers had hit two Iranian nuclear sites with massive GBU-57 bunker buster bombs. This happened last month, while a guided missile submarine had struck a third Iranian site with Tomahawk cruise missiles. Now, there has been much debate over the impact of these strikes. The latest Pentagon assessment has echoed the US president's claim of total obliteration of Iranian sites, as expected. The US administration has strongly condemned Iran's decision to suspend cooperation with the International Atomic Energy Agency, calling it unacceptable. US State Department spokesperson Tammy Bruce emphasized that Iran must cooperate fully with the IAEA without further delay. "38 people are still missing after a ferry carrying 65 on board sank shortly after leaving East Java's Ketapang port for Bali. According to rescue officials, 4 people have been confirmed dead, while 23 people have been rescued. Search and rescue operations are underway to locate those missing in the ferry tragedy. Cuba's National Observatory Against Drugs is stepping up its fight against drug trafficking with stricter border protocols, particularly at Havana's Jose Marti International Airport. Customs officers and sniffer dogs are conducting anti-drug operations to detect and prevent smuggling attempts. Recently, they've uncovered creative concealment methods such as methamphetamines hidden inside rechargeable light bulbs and controlled medication in seasoning boxes. The observatory's efforts are part of a nationwide crackdown on psychotropics and narcotics. This zero-tolerance policy reflects Cuba's commitment to tackling the issue with severe sentences for offenders. The Supreme Court of Costa Rica has formally requested that the Legislative Assembly strip President Rodrigo Chavez of his immunity from prosecution, enabling him to stand trial on allegations of corruption. Costa Rica's Attorney General's office in April alleged that members of Chavez's government awarded kickbacks to a top government ally using funds from the Central American Bank for Economic Integration. Costa Rica's President Rodrigo Chavez has rejected corruption charges as absurd accusations. He claimed the allegations are motivated by his independence and refusal to grant favors. The Hong Kong government said that it will propose legislation to recognize a limited set of rights for same-sex couples whose marriages are registered abroad, as it seeks to comply with a landmark court ruling. The city's top judges had unanimously defined marriage as confined to opposite-sex couples in September of 2023. But the same ruling also ordered the government to create an alternative framework within 2 years that recognizes same-sex couples' legal rights. In a policy paper, the Hong Kong government said that it proposed same-sex couples apply for registration under a newly established registration mechanism. China's first domestically built aircraft carrier, the Shandong, has arrived in Hong Kong for a 5-day visit, marking a significant display of naval power. The Shandong, accompanied by escort vessels, including the destroyer Zhangjiang and frigate Yuncheng, will host tours and cultural exchange activities during its stay from July 3rd to 7th. The Shandong's visit comes amid heightened tensions in the region, particularly with Japan and the Philippines, over China's expanding military presence. The Colombian Navy has seized its first unmanned narco submarine equipped with a Starlink antenna off the Caribbean coast. The Navy said the vessel was owned by the Gulf Clan, Colombia's largest drug trafficking group, and had the capacity to transport 1.5 tons of cocaine. Authorities say the vessel was not carrying drugs but believe it was a trial run by the cocaine trafficking cartel. The submarine's advanced technology, including the Starlink antenna, allows for real-time remote steering and communication. This reflects traffickers' shift towards more sophisticated unmanned systems, making detection and tracking challenging. Peru's President Dina Boluarte's salary has been increased by 125% to approximately $10,000 per month, and this increase makes her salary equivalent to more than 31 times the minimum wage in Peru. The decision was made at a weekly meeting of ministers where a comparative methodology was established with presidential salaries in 12 Latin American countries. Minister of Economy and Finance Raul Perez Reyes stated that the decision aimed to correct the president's salary. According to a recent national survey, public opinion strongly opposed the move, with 94% of Peruvians disapproving of the salary hike. India has expressed serious concern over the abduction of 3 of its nationals in Mali amid a wave of attacks in the West African country. 3 Indian nationals working at a cement factory in Mali were taken hostage by terrorists linked to banned terror outfit Al-Qaeda during a coordinated assault on the 1st of July. In an official statement, India's Ministry of External Affairs unequivocally condemned the attack and urged the Mali government to ensure the workers' safe and expeditious release. All Indians currently residing in Mali have been asked to exercise utmost caution, remain vigilant, and stay in close contact with the embassy in Bamako for regular updates and necessary assistance. A massive wildfire raged across the Greek island of Crete, forcing evacuations of residents and tourists from at least 4 settlements on the islands. At least 155 firefighters, assisted by 38 engines and water trucks, battled the flames in the municipality of Petra. While the raging fires damaged several homes, no injuries were reported. Reinforcements were on their way by boat and aircraft from Athens to assist in containing the fire. Greece is often hit by wildfires during its hot and dry summers, with authorities attributing the increasingly destructive blazes to a fast-changing climate. Heavy rainfall in central China's Henan and Hubei provinces has caused severe flooding, prompting rescue efforts to save trapped civilians. In Henan's Lushan County, rescue workers saved a taxi driver swept away by floodwaters while crossing a bridge. In Hubei's Xianfeng County, rescuers evacuated over 20 people trapped in a flooded primary school's residential buildings, and authorities have deployed emergency personnel, rubber dinghies and relief supplies, including 13.33 million yuan worth of aid to Hubei province. The dollar wobbled after a trade agreement between the United States and Vietnam fueled optimism over potential future deals ahead of a July 9th tariff deadline, while investors looked to payrolls to assess the Federal Reserve's next steps. Sterling firmed slightly after a sharp drop the previous session as British Prime Minister Keir Starmer's office rushed to give Finance Minister Rachel Reeves his full backing, hoping to allay investor worries about Britain's finances. The pound dropped nearly 1% and British government bonds tumbled a day after the government backed down on its welfare reforms, reignited concern over Britain's finances. Oil prices eased, reversing gains from the previous session on concerns over weak US demand after government data showed a surprise build in inventories in the world's biggest crude consumer. Brent crude futures fell 0.35% to $68.87 a barrel by 12:44 a.m. GMT. That's after gaining 3% on Wednesday. US oil trades around $67 after climbing 3.1% previously. Both benchmarks gained on Wednesday after Iran suspended cooperation with the UN nuclear watchdog, raising concerns. The S&P 500 and Nasdaq closed at record highs on Wednesday, boosted by gains in technology stocks and a trade agreement between the US and Vietnam that eased concerns over prolonged trade tensions. The Dow Jones Industrial Average closed slightly lower, but remained within 1.2% of its December 4th record close. Markets opened lower after a non-key indicator showed US private payrolls fell unexpectedly in June and job gains in the prior month were smaller than initially thought. But they reversed course before lunchtime as the US and Vietnam struck a trade agreement that sets 20% tariffs on many of the Southeast Asian countries' exports. The United States will place a lower than promised 20% tariff on many Vietnamese exports, cooling tensions with its 10th biggest trading partner, days before the US president could raise levies on most imports. Vietnamese goods would face a 20% tariff, and transshipments from third countries through Vietnam will face a 40% levy. Vietnam could import US products with a 0% tariff. Trump's announcement comes just days before a July 9th deadline, before he ramps up tariffs on most imports.